course, it's up on a...
Hey, look.
You should be able to pull it back towards us.
Let's get permission to release just in case this accidentally does go.
Okay.
Bridge nav. Do we have permission to recover the mooring? Yep, bridge is fine.
All right, keep on going.
I think I've got to pull it that way, right?
Yeah. There, it's starting.
Got it. Look down, please. Stick it on the porch for now.
Doesn't look very weighted.
No, I don't think it's weighted at all.
Should we put it in the box then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not worth saving the minute to...
That pick up if we want to pool tray.
You can sneak it in there, can't
yeah.
you?
Yeah, you're too far. There you go. I'm just going to close it. That'll lock it in.
Yeah, just trap it. Okay, this is it.
This is the one.
The fun bit.
Yep.
Did we get the pin out or did it break?
Pin's out. I think the pin is fully out.
Look like it. Okay, here we go.
No, not quite.
Uh-huh.
No, now this is the hard part.
No.
Okay. So if the pins are completely out, this thing rotates down.
Put
So
this in,
oh, well,
box.
we'll wait till you drop the pin, wherever you put the pin. It'll go on the grating there nicely.
All right, we'll put it.
Yep.
Ah!
All right.
What I got to do?
If you zoom in,
Video, push in.
I can talk you through it real quick.
Yeah,
Okay,
teleprompter.
so normally there's a, see that white thing on the top? Can you come down a little bit? There. That white thing has to, the white Delrin in the middle?
Yep.
It's got to be pulled down.
Okay.
Come down. It basically pushes down. Normally there's a hockey puck there, but I don't see the hockey puck. But that, the white thing pushes down.
Okay.
It's a locking mechanism there. It's like
Okay.
a sea catch.
All right, let's come full wide video.
You don't want to hold on to it because it's going up with it, so you want to push it down. Capiche?
Capiche.
Glad you came up. I haven't
Video
seen that
push in.
before.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you...
I would have been sitting here a bit confused.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that's why I was saying, did the pin come out? Because there's a pin that goes all the way through there, through the Delrin. I didn't see the pin, I just saw the, there you go.
And it's away.
All right.
There we go.
On
Until
our
the
way.
bridge.
All right. Bridge nav, the mooring is released.
Let's get this puppy coming up.
All right.
Yep.
I'm going to step off 50 meters or so.
Sure.
Arm is frozen. Hydraulics off.
Okay,
Bridge
awesome.
nav, 50 meters, 045.
And we'll get the Magnum arm onto the BPR frame.
Yep. Hang on. Yep, I'm coming down.
I got it. Thank you.
It's our intended time for that mooring to
Yeah,
arrive back
we're
on
getting
surface.
this on first.
We all get to guess.
Putting wagers in.
I
Uh,
was 5
up.
minutes off the last one.
I was saying elbow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're at 21:14.
Can't hear you.
I'm gonna predict.
Yeah, the boat's stepping back.
What's your prediction?
I got 33 minutes.
33 minutes.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna guess 36
Okay,
minutes.
got it.
I'm gonna go 29.
Okay.
29 minutes.
So
29
yeah,
minutes.
let's get you spun around and our
Go
goal
heading.
is to zero the tether rep. So
Oh, going the right way as well.
I'll put my time at 8:56. Correct. We shall see.
Come on.
Anyone else want to wager a guess?
you should just be able to come out of auto heading.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and start coming up.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like anybody's in the wagering mood. It's a
28.5 minutes from now.
all right. For those just tuning in, that was the official release of our
All right.
mooring back up
Officially
to the
off
surface.
bottom.
And we are now ascending back to the top. It's going to be a group effort
See what
to
we're doing.
retrieve that mooring and bring it back on deck. So that is our next scheduled plan, but it looks like we are complete with everything on this current dive, and we are on our way back up.
Would we be able to pan up a little bit?
Okay.
Awesome.
Is all ollie on the arm?
Thanks, man.
I don't know.
Can we stick the lasers on as well?
I got it.
Awesome.
Lasers.
Are we doing a video transect? Is that why you want this stuff?
Well, there seems to be a lot in the way. What do you
Okay.
think,
Oh, I
Nico?
don't know. I was just curious.
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Nico, question.
Yes, go ahead.
What's the recovery operation from here?
The recovery operation of the mooring?
No, like vehicles first, then mooring?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, are we sending the small boat after the mooring?
Yeah, I will double check on that, but
Okay, all right, so he'll take care of that back and forth, yeah. But you can tell George we're gonna recover the vehicles before we recover the mooring. I did this on the way down. I was supposed to be the valet watch. I figured you guys would be done by the time I got up here.
Told you guys messed it all up. You've only got yourself to blame, Greg.
It's true. I figured at 4 when I showed up that you guys would be nearing completion.
Oh, no, no. You underestimated Dan's non-wanting to change pumps. I don't know. It looks pretty simple on this. You done it before? You must have done it before.
It's gonna do something and I forgot what it was. Oh, that's what it was.
Oh, hang on. We put the lasers on, didn't we?
was that? Is that your laser sound effect?
That's the laser noise, yeah.
That was aggressive.
That was a really great.
Was not
That was some
expecting
Star
that.
Wars lasers there.
Yeah, I've been doing that, practicing that the whole night.
Wait, so you made that noise? That wasn't like a recording?
No, it was me.
Oh,
Cool,
very
huh?
impressive.
Pretty-
Cool, huh?
You should take on beatboxing. Those
I can do it again.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Ooh, and you even had the sound reflection kind of as a passing by sound too. That was pretty skilled.
My caffeine
The
hasn't
far
kicked
near
in yet,
effect.
clearly.
Oh, dear.
For our viewers tuning in, we are making our way back up to the surface. We just released our mooring and accomplished a number of other tasks on this dive. So we are returning back to the surface. It'll be a team effort to pick up our mooring, and we'll keep you updated on the next dive, which I believe will be happening later on this evening. I think we have a rendezvous with the cable truck tomorrow morning too, as well.
Did you
Is that
say
correct?
cable truck?
I mean the cable ship.
Truck?
You know what I meant.
Yeah. So
The
we'll dive
the
at
cable
the
ship that's not coming.
end of the day
Yeah.
in preparation for the cable truck coming. Wear your grubby clothes if you want to help with the mooring coming back on board. It's
I didn't bring any.
uh-oh. I don't believe
Just got this Nautilus uniform.
Wear your grubby clothes if you want to help with the pump.
Yeah.
I think I'd honestly trade, but I have no idea how to do it with your
I'd
pump.
much prefer to do the pump than to do the mooring.
For our viewer that said they noticed the broken knife on Hercules, yeah, we do
Which
break some
one?
knives sometimes.
I don't know if there's a broken knife there now.
Someone
Is there
stated
still?
someone stated they saw
No.
a broken knife.
No,
No,
that's
it must have been yesterday.
Yeah.
That's a fully functional knife.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday there was a busted one.
There was a busted one yesterday. Every once in a while we bust a knife.
Much
Depends
different
on
than
bust a
bust a move.
depends on how rugged we're going on our knife game.
Are we still kind of going off to the... Okay, cool.
Is this your music, Greg? Whose music? Is it country? Just a surprise.
Ooh.
Right.
As far as sea life that we'll see on our ascent here, it depends. Sometimes we see things, sometimes we don't. The ocean is pretty vast. We typically see a lot of marine snow on our way up and other microparticles. But yeah, sometimes we will find life, sometimes we won't. It just depends on the area, time of day, currents in the area. A lot of factors will dictate how much life we tend to see on our way back up.
There's plenty of life. It's just that it's smaller and we aren't seeing it necessarily right now. It's not big and in focus on our camera screen. But there's all of those white specks, a good portion of it is living matter.
Living matter.
That's falling out through the water
Or
column.
dead matter.
Yeah, or dead matter that used to be alive.
Yeah.
Some form of organic matter. Or organic matter that was eaten by living matter and then got pooped out by living matter. All of the things.
Yep.
You're telling me this is poop?
That is
Yeah, a lot of it is.
A lot of it is poop.
I think a lot of things in life could be classified as that.
And as far as viewing bioluminescence, we get this question quite a bit. Bioluminescence, we wouldn't be able to pick it up with our cameras as far as any bioluminescence here, even if we turned our lights off. It's very, very, very difficult to be able to capture that.
But most of the organisms down here are bioluminescent. So actually, I think it's something like 80% of all marine organisms can bioluminesce.
Yeah.
So it's pretty pervasive, especially where we are right now in these depths. We just can't pick it up with our cameras.
Mm. And to Central Gwinnett High School, 7th period oceanography class, thank you very much for tuning in. We're glad you have your whole classroom tuning in. That's pretty amazing. So shout out to you. Yes, if your students have any questions, feel free to ask away. And also, since you guys are a 7th period oceanography class, we do offer live interactions every single day on this ship. If you go over to the nautiluslive.org website, you can actually sign up to speak to anyone on board, myself, one of the SCFs, any of the scientists here on board, any of the pilots here on board, and you could actually tune in live, ask any of your questions live with us, and also get a great overview of everything happening on board the Nautilus. So head over to nautiluslive.org to the education page and sign up for one of our live interactions. We have about a week and a half to go, I believe, on this mission. So if you want to tune in and hear more about the discoveries we've made here at Endeavour Field and the other locations on our route, you can sign up for that. And we would love to speak with you all live in person. So Central Gwinnett High School, we hope to see you before our trip is over.
And there's actually a scientist in the room now, so you can ask scientific questions.
Yes, we are here for all your scientific questions, absolutely.
Are you guys getting a lot of scientific questions without anybody to answer them earlier?
I mean, I feel like we
Did our
tended them off
best.
pretty well.
Yeah.
That's what I figure you guys normally do.
But that's really what the two arms are for, is for blocking science.
No science here. No, they're to collect more science.
Oh, data. Yeah, we did okay. We talked about geologists and biologists and fish. At one point, we had a prolonged discussion about sponges.
Oh, yeah?
Sponges.
They're pretty weird. Talk about how much they smell when we have to collect a bunch of them.
Are they stinky, are they?
Yeah, real stinky.
Right.
As stinky as that mooring's going to be?
Ooh. Well, are you guys going to hose off the mooring?
I'm not going to hose off the mooring.
We've got work to do.
Nico, is the mooring getting hosed off?
I'm gonna try and go to bed. No. Yeah, it gets hosed.
Oh yeah, it'll be fine.
What is that going to smell like?
Ocean.
Low tide.
Yeah, and then a little while later, like rotting ocean.
Yeah, sponges give off a really weird stench when they start drying out because a lot of them produce different compounds in general. And so then when they start drying up, the boat's not happy.
That's right. We spent some time looking for, I forget what type of sponge it was, but if we found it, they wanted like 5 kilograms of it because it was for a vaccine trial.
Yeah,
like
they're
cancer study.
Yeah, sponges are now, people are really looking into a lot of deep sea sponges because they produce really weird and interesting compounds that could be very interesting for different medical purposes.
Yep.
That's
The deep sea is very valuable for a lot of things that we use for medicinal purposes here on land and things that are of great benefit to humans. So one of the many reasons why we do deep sea explorations, we find lots of new helpful things that can provide a better quality of life for all of us. This is an interesting question. Is there any scientists on board Nautilus with a background in astronomy or into astronomy?
Yeah.
I don't know if we have any.
Anybody that's, I don't think we necessarily have backgrounds in astronomy, but people that are into astronomy, probably.
Everybody's like, nah, I hate astronomy.
Screw the stars.
Screw the stars. It's all sea talk. It's all about the sea.
We had
I do like
SCF
astronomy.
who was an astronomer or an astrophysicist before he became focused on marine.
That's a pretty interesting transition.
Well, we've had, because we've also
Didn't he
worked
come out
with
for
NASA.
ONC?
Yeah, he's with you, Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of,
Huge man.
it's less of a jump than you might think, because the deep ocean is someplace that gets studied as like, what might we see on other planets? So then they have astrobiologists that study the deep ocean to try and figure out what life might look like elsewhere.
It's all just a guess, though, isn't it? An educated guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's all
guess.
science is. A bunch of educated guesses, questions and educated guesses.
Absolutely.
Well,
Well,
then we get to
Not that educated.
conclusive proofs.
Thanks, George.
Well, no, deep sea exploration is really important because we talk about trying to find life on other planets, especially exoplanets that may have similar water makeup or actually be made up of more water than on Earth, or even ice-capped moons that potentially might have oceans underneath the ice caps. We're looking at ways to be able to explore those ocean environments, and so being able to do
Floats on the
explorations like
surface.
this are really
Wowzers.
important.
That was quick.
That was pretty
Did you
quick.
catch that, Nico?
I
floats
did
up.
hear that.
It's 21 minutes.
It's up already?
Yeah.
What? Oh,
I thought that thing was going pretty quick.
It did have 2 floats.
Oh, I was
ahead.
definitely way
It
off.
had 2 floats on it?
Yeah.
Way off.
Where were you?
I was eating breakfast.
Yeah, it's got 2 floats on it.
Oh, well, that changes my answer. I'm going to guess it's going to come up in about 22 minutes then.
What a great guess, Nico.
Yeah. George suggests that we just wrap the cable tether or the mooring tether around the Herc's tether, and we can just pull them both
Pull
in
them all up at the
simultaneously.
same
It's
time.
a fantastic idea.
I think that'd work.
Down.
We had thought about just grabbing onto the bottom of the mooring, and that way it would
Yeah.
pull us to the
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins.
Man, I'm actually going faster.
And for our viewer that just woke up and is tuning in, I don't know, did
We're
anybody
still
have
here.
any favorite moments on this dive?
Well,
This
most
morning?
of us have, well, I guess there's a good chunk of you guys that have had the
All
12
night?
hours. I was going to say,
Yeah.
a lot. Our crew has had blue water, so
We
the ones
found
of
the
us on
cable. We
Pilot.
found the lost cable.
Yeah, that was
cool.
that was nice.
Found a lost cable?
Found
Was
the
there a
lost
mystery?
cable.
Was there a mystery of a lost cable?
There was a mystery of a lost cable.
Yeah,
and you found it.
we found
We
it.
found it.
Oh,
I found it.
Oh, you found. Ooh, okay.
But who's counting?
Kudos. Kudos. So we found a lost cable. That was a big highlight. Anything else?
Well, Nico, if I recall, you were having us search in the south,
I was looking in the total wrong spot.
but you did find it eventually.
Okay. Well, that seems to be the highlight of the morning. A lost cable was found. So at least one thing was.
Popping that
Momentous.
mooring was fun as well.
But yes, we accomplished a number of tasks this morning at our location, and we are currently on our way back up. The mooring is apparently surfaced, so we'll be retrieving that once we recover the ROVs. Did we take any push core samples on this dive?
Nope.
Nope, no samples.
Nope, we're behind schedule. So
So just the mooring work.
And we did a swap of bottom pressure recorders, which is what the old one is what we have hanging out in Mango's claw there.
BPRs.
Yes.
Bottom pressure recorders, yes.
Another
One of them is on the porch right now. Nice.
There
That
it
one.
is.
Bam! Our BPR, it's one of them recovered. Awesome. Central Gwyneth, thank you for tuning in still. You said your students have a question. Oh, and you're looking into ship-to-shore interactions. Awesome. If you need any help registering for that, let us know. But it's pretty straightforward. You should be able to find a time that works for you and your students. And you could make any requests for anybody that you want on board. If you want me, I'm Maynard Okereke. I'll be one of the SCFs that'll be running all of our live interactions. So, but we also have Miss Katie Doyle and Lori as well too. We are all available to run your live interactions. Exploring anything, are we exploring anything new on this mission, or have you seen anything new and exciting? That's a great question. Anybody on this mission so far, anything that's come up that anybody found exciting or new, unexpected?
We kept running into some pretty tall structures that I did not expect to be there.
At Endeavor or at other locations?
No, on this dive. Not as tall as anything at Endeavor, but
No, not like Hulk. I mean, there's a lot of the stuff, especially the hydrothermal vents, which is always neat to see, but I guess it's not new to anybody in the van. So.
Well, it's new to me. It's my first time.
So there you go.
It's new to me. The Endeavor, the locations that we were on this dive so far, most of the team has been to. So we didn't really go to any actual new locations.
Yeah,
so we've recorded
22
data.
minutes to surface for the floats.
We've recorded data. We've captured footage at multiple of these locations. So they weren't new places, but we are always collecting new data or deploying instruments that will be collecting new data that will give us a better understanding of these locations. The Endeavor field that we're at right now has a lot of hydrothermal vent activity, a lot of geological activity, so it's always cool to see those formations. And we do have temperature probes that we've installed previously that looked completely different than what they do now because of mineral buildup at some of those hydrothermal vent locations. So that tends to be new, get some new structures that develop over time. But for the most part, these are areas that we've been to in the past and already have instruments at those locations as well. But we are looking to continue to collect new data, and we'll be doing that for the next week and a half as we finish out this trip.
Everybody knows.
Ooh, good question. Does the mooring floating up there complicate the retrieval of ROVs? I don't think it does.
Only if it gets caught.
Only if it's only if it gets caught up. But I think the plan is
we move the ship and the ROVs away from the mooring. We're continuing to move the ship and ROVs away from the mooring. The mooring has a indicator on it, so we can always find it again if need be, but we're going to recover the ROVs and then.
Awesome.
Outside.
Sound like a resounding yes.
Where is it? What monitor do you want it on?
one's fine. Bottom left on the bottom left monitor.
H1 PIP1.
Sure. That one. Perfect.
Oh, look at that. Floats.
Perfect.
3 of them. I enjoyed the omelets for breakfast this morning.
Delicious.
Sometimes it makes some really good, nice ones. I have no idea how far away we are. I have no idea, actually. Nico?
Nico has left the van.
Ah, Adrian.
Hello.
What can you, is the mooring cable floaty or does that hang beneath the?
I think it hangs beneath it, but I am not positive.
Okay. I can't hear George for whatever reason. Yeah. Making almost 20 meters a minute.
Don't go too fast.
I guess as it came up, but went a little bit that way because it seemed like there was a current going that way. That's relative to ROV-nav. Yeah, so like the direction I was pointing. Ship north, actually. Yeah. Oh, you have a friend. Your friend's going away. Yeah. You didn't see your friend?
I saw something. Didn't look particularly friendly.
You gotta take what you can get in the deep ocean.
Ashley, tell me why I spent literally all night long looking up eel reproductive systems.
I was just looking up eel phylogeny for you, so there you go.
That dug me into such a deep wormhole.
Or an eel hole.
Eel hole.
Some eels burrow.
Good old YouTube and Google searches. I was really fascinated by these ladders that people have been building to assist in eel migration. I thought that was pretty amazing. The fact that they can literally crawl up a net through a ladder to be able to make their way to saltwater. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, some of those. So what we're talking about is
so ladders.
Yeah, just some ladders. Some eel ladders, if you will. So there are a couple of species of eels within, so Anguilla species. The American eel in particular is the one that we're talking about. And they migrate to reproduce, and they actually migrate from, they live their life in freshwater, and then they migrate into saltwater to reproduce, and they go offshore to destinations unknown, more or less, and then come back and go into freshwater again to once they're spawned in their saltwater habitat. They go through a bunch of different life stages, bunch of different transformations, like 5 transformations.
Mm-hmm. Which all look completely different from each other.
Yeah, very different. Which is opposed to, like, most fish will go through larval, juvenile, adult. And the larval phase might look crazy different, but the juveniles look pretty much more or less like the adults do, just smaller versions. But eels go through these very drastic life changes that all look very different from one another. But after they start to become adults, then these American eels will migrate back to freshwater on land. And sometimes that means that they're traversing, like, they'll walk over solid land to get in between pools of fresh water. And they can go for pretty extensive distances. It's really cool. But when we start doing things like building infrastructure around their migration habitats, like or dams, their migration routes, or or dams, then it's a little bit of a problem. And the species in general is one that has been threatened by fishing and by our infrastructure buildup. So one of the ways that we're trying to manage the species is by building fish ladders. So if there's some sort of dam in the way, then we make a little ladder and they can crawl up this ladder to get over the dam and onto the other side of it. Mm-hmm. And some of these will have, if you Google it, sometimes they'll put cameras on the top of these ladders. Yeah. So you can watch these eels climb up a ladder to get down and, like, slide back down the other side.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I was looking at one of the videos too. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the ladders have this little net that enables them to grip their way up this ladder. And they'll literally crawl all the way up and to the other side. It's pretty impressive when they first you have to find the river locations where they inhabit, and then you have to find that best route that will enable them to work their way upstream through this ladder. Mm-hmm. But biologically, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so it's kind of the opposite of what salmon do. So salmon are called what we call anadromous fishes. Mm-hmm. And they go from living in saltwater and then reproduce in freshwater. So these eels are what we call catadromous with a C. So catadromous fishes spend their life in freshwater and then reproduce in saltwater. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they can undergo such drastic changes, the physiology is pretty impressive, that they can go from freshwater and keep all of that osmotic balance in check and also do the same in saltwater. Mm. There's a lot of different processes that are dependent on how saline your environment is, and the fact that they can go between the two is, like, crazy wild.
Mm. And this all started from a TikTok video that I was watching. Just as many conversations these days do start from a random TikTok video. That someone had tagged me on a video that someone had created talking about how little we know about eels, and it was a lot of overhyped kind of propaganda about this mysteriousness of eels and how scientists don't know anything about their reproductive cycles or how they reproduce or where they reproduce or what their anatomy is made up of, and the fact that they go from freshwater to saltwater was such a unique thing, and it got me thinking about all these different facts. And so I got into the wormhole or the eel hole of looking up about eel reproductive system, and had a conversation with Ashley, and she told me, like, yes, we actually do know quite a lot about eels, and actually a lot about the reproductive cycles. Yeah, we may not know exactly where they go to spawn, but we do know that they move from freshwater to saltwater, and that's not a unique thing. There are plenty of other fish species that also make a transition from freshwater to saltwater and vice versa, like she mentioned salmon. And so I started working on a TikTok response video to my clapback video.
Yeah, there are also just in general a lot of fishes that kind of hang out in tidal areas. So there's fluctuations on at least a daily, sometimes twice daily. And just depending on where you are, the fluctuation of river water, that is fresh water, versus the salt water, that is ocean water, coming in, means that they have to do almost as crazy, if not more intensive a transition, because they're doing it on a daily basis, and it's shifting almost hourly, fluctuating about how much salinity they can tolerate. So fishes are weird. There's a lot of them. Also, the ocean is really big, so we don't know where all of the fish reproduce at all of the times. That's the take home.
Yep.
There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot that we do know.
Yep. A lot we don't know about a lot of animal species, especially when it comes to reproducing.
Yes.
I think one of the common pet store fish can actually go back and forth pretty easily.
Yeah, it depends on the type. Some of them are very fragile.
Yeah, no, I think it's mollies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're, a lot of those are pretty hardy. And they will also reproduce in your tanks like crazy.
Yeah, it takes like a week for them to transition from one to the other. Tilapia will do that too. And then they're worried about lionfish doing that.
Yeah. Lionfish have been pretty hardy when in their introduced range. So we're finding them in colder areas and in deeper areas. They're just kind of taking over.
And nothing eats them, or very few.
Not in their introduced range. In their native range, they're eaten by, I believe, by cornet fishes. That'll come and nibble on them from behind so that they don't get the spines. But we don't have those species in the introduced range.
Yeah.
So there are no predators.
Introduce some of those.
It was early 2000s, and they believe it was an aquarium release or several. And I think the first peg is that, like, likely from Florida during hurricanes. There might have been a couple of aquarium releases. And then a couple of these aquarium fish found each other and then started spawning like mad. And since they don't have any native predators, yeah, as they do.
Is that in the Florida region, you said?
Well, it's now all through the Caribbean. I think as far south as Brazil, and then as far north, like north of New York.
Oh, wow.
Last I checked, and I haven't looked recently, so it's probably expanded.
What's their native habitat?
The Indo-Pacific.
Okay.
So, but they're gorgeous fishes, and they're pretty, in aquariums, they're really curious, and so they're really popular aquarium fishes. So that's one of the reasons why they were able to get so easily introduced. And then once they got introduced, they don't have any natural predators, and so they can pretty easily overtake the environment. They're voracious, and so they'll eat anything. And they're actually, as far as fish go, they're really, really voracious. They'll eat themselves, like they'll gorge themselves so much that then they just, if they get overstuffed, they'll just vomit it back up and keep eating more. So they're just like these deep sea gluttons. And they're venomous, and so then they take over important habitats for some of the species that are native and some of which are endangered, like some really important grouper species. and they aren't the greatest for tourism because nobody wants to go walk along the beach and then step on a lionfish. Because while their venom is not lethal unless you are allergic to it, it hurts like crazy.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to get stung by a venomous lionfish. And it's just kind of been a big problem in the Caribbean all the way up through parts of the Atlantic, trying to keep these lionfish populations under control, and they're moving deeper and deeper. So we've seen them as like deeper than 100 meters with ROVs before. I can't remember the deepest depth off the top of my head.
Special ROVs designed to catch them?
I think they're working on special capture mechanisms.
I'm pretty sure I saw a development ROV.
Yeah, I wouldn't be, they're working on a lot of
like
stuff.
Electric, it shocks them.
Right.
Cool.
Interesting.
That works.
It's actually, there's some divers who've put together some, you know, like let's go spearfishing, and they take a 12-inch. Now they're branded and everything, but it was a 12-inch piece of PVC with mesh on one end, and then like I think they used a milk bottle sliced initially, and so you'd spear it, stuff it in, and then when you pulled the spear out, it would pull the fish off the spear and it would be captured in the tube.
Yeah. That's,
oh, really?
I've seen a couple of different spearing which is good because I've been on dives where we've gone lionfish hunting, and they'll do like lionfish derbies to see like who can catch the most lionfish.
Yeah, because they don't run. They're
no,
not afraid.
no, they.
Like,
I mean,
you said they're real curious, right? So they,
well, and they know that they're not going to get eaten by anything. They don't have any predators, so they'll sit proudly on top of a rock and just kind of display themselves, and they aren't afraid.
Even if you miss it with the spearfish, it'll sit there and you can take another shot.
Yeah, but I've been on dives before where your spear gets full, and so you go and try to move one, and somebody will get stung, and that's not fun.
Yeah, that's why those capture devices are
those
good.
capture devices sound great.
Yeah.
But they do, if you see someplace that is serving lionfish, it is edible, and it's a good palatable fish. Like, it's just a kind of nice white fish.
Yeah, sweetness to it.
Yeah, they're good. So that's something that they're also trying is to
commercialize it a little bit more so they can
so that people eat it. Yep. So go for it. Eat lionfish. Also, please don't release your aquarium fishes.
Yes. Don't release your aquarium
your
animal pets whatsoever.
Don't do it. That's how we have so many invasive species.
Or turtles. A lot of species become invasive, like you said, because people release them from pets and introduce them to areas. And regardless of whatever species, if you do introduce species to another area, it could affect a lot of different things in the ecosystem. Affect the natural predators that are there. It could affect the vegetation, depending on what species you release, and also affect the habitat itself, even like the makeup of the water, the chemistry of the water, sometimes their feces and other things that they produce, which could have a dramatic impact on the environment. So properly release your pets back to either another carekeeper or other means, but do not put them back into a different environment where they don't belong.
That also means please don't flush your fish when you think they are dead, because sometimes they are not dead. And then when you flush them, again, all my references seem to go back to Finding Nemo, but
that's a pretty strong Finding Nemo reference.
Yeah, all drains lead to the ocean or to some water source, and a lot of fish introductions happen that way as well. When we think a fish is dead, and it's just real good at playing dead.
Oh, here's a question going back to our eels. Sea lampreys, they're not classified as eels. I believe that's
very much not an eel. Lampreys are...
They are a fish, though. They're in the chordata.
Yes, they are a fish. They are not a bony fish. Yeah, you can make Ollie's favorite pie. No, sea lampreys are more closely related to hagfish, which we see frequently, actually. They're
also made into pies.
Yeah, which also, and into faux leather.
Is that what they use them for?
So, yeah, so they'll use eel. I mean, I think they use hagfish for, they'll eat hagfish, but I think hagfish also gets used as like a leather. Not advisable.
I've always wondered why anyone would have a truck full of hagfish driving down the road.
Yeah, I don't know why there was a full truck, but I feel like consumption is probably the answer for that one. But also, please don't. We don't know, so actually, we don't know hardly anything about hagfish reproduction. They're kind of a, to me, that's a bigger mystery than eel reproduction. Because they live so deep that we haven't been able to see them reproduce either. We've been able to keep some of their eggs in captivity, but they're pretty mysterious themselves. Hagfish also not eels. Slime eels are not true eels.
And electric eels are not true eels either.
Correct.
They're more closely related to catfish, actually.
Correct. Yes. A lot of things get called eels that are not true eels, but there are a lot of different eels too. Fish are weird.
And speaking of invasive species,
the
sea lamprey is actually an invasive species in the Great Lakes region as
Yes.
of now. It's having a dramatic effect on local fish populations like the lake trout and the lake herrings as well. So
Yes, they're parasitic and they'll latch onto the side, and then we'll catch these fish that we want to eat, and they've got a bunch of lesions on them and they don't look great and nobody wants to eat them. Not ideal. That was probably not an aquarium release. I don't think people were keeping sea lampreys as pets. That was probably ballast water. Also, please clean your boats when you take it between lakes.
yes, absolutely. Oh, one of my fellow SoCal viewers mentioned a problem, which this is actually interesting that you brought it up, because I've been working on a video which I'm going to be releasing when I get back to shore on invasive species in Southern California region, which also include the red-eared slider turtle, which is a huge invasive species in Southern California. And that one was definitely introduced to that area through pet trade, because it's a very, very common pet. Makes for a great, long-lasting pet for kids, but it's been released to many local water systems and has a dramatic effect on the local western pond turtle species, because they feed on much of the same food, and drastically also affects the vegetation in those areas. So once again, do not release your pets into the wild, folks.
I think my favorite story of invasive species release is the European starling. So
yeah.
they're now everywhere across the U.S. and they're just like, you've guaranteed seen a starling, even if you don't realize it. But they're not native. But they got released because somebody thought that we should, in America, be able to hear all the birds that Shakespeare had written about. So that's why we have them. Yeah.
It was a Shakespearean. It was a Shakespearean bird.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Said we should have all of the beautiful noises from that Shakespeare wrote about, and release some starling, and now they're everywhere.
Now
they're kind of
everywhere.
kind of pests.
They're wild monkeys in Florida.
Yeah, there are troops of them.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like 5 troops ranging from, I think, Miami all the way up into Georgia now.
Oh, I didn't know they went all the way into Georgia. There's a troop that is supposedly right near where I live, and I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
It's definitely a weird
there.
experience to be camping and see a monkey.
See a monkey.
Yeah.
Wait, what's